us, Mr. Capra, just what Gower Street Studios were like when you first went there in
There were, you could hardly call them studios. Every doorway was a studio in a sense. It was a place where if you had $50 in cash, you could get $50 in credit quickly on that, and then having now like accumulated $100, you could get some cash. You could get some credit on that $100. Now, if you got like $200 out of that, you got a little more credit, and actually you could run $50 up into enough money to make a feature film. One of the feature films, fast things, action things, and they sold them to state rights and small theaters, and some made money and some did not. But it was a very, very quick going on. You were there today and gone tomorrow, and many people. Many people from the outside, non-theatrical people, came down there to make pictures and lost their blue shirts and things like that. It was a what do you call that? Where you buy everything, anything to buy. That kind of a place you go to buy anything. Some kind of market. It was dirty. It's kind of very, very, very dirty, very, very sleazy. The buildings were very old and very wooden, and an enormous number of posters. Terrific posters, guys with guns and knives and killing women, and all kinds of blood and thunder stuff on the doorways and on the things, advertising these kind of pictures. Those kind of films were made at that time by these people. So it was a Skid Row kind of a thing, the cheapest place in town.
I suppose it looked like heaven to your eyes in one way, didn't it?
No, it did not. It did not look like heaven the first time. I went there from Max Santa's studio, which was kind of a crazy house of its own. But when I went to, I thought, my God, I don't want any part of this. It stunk. They did everything. All the people were moving fast, and I didn't know what it was. I certainly didn't want any part of it at all. And when I got the first interview with Mr. Sam Briskin, I just I said, now what did you send me for? And he said, to ask you to direct a picture. I said, your last picture wasn't so good, didn't do so well, did it? So I said, what was my last picture? Well, he didn't know, of course, and it was his opening line with everybody, And so I said, I can see we're not getting along, and I don't like the place. I'll see you. So I got up. He said, where you going? Come on, wait, Well, I said, what do you want of me? Why did you send for me? He said, I didn't send for you. Harry Korn sent for you. I said, who's Harry Korn? He says, the president of the company. I said, you have presidents in this company? I was surprised the word presidents didn't seem to fit. Anyhow, he said, yes. And I said, how does does he know any of my pictures? No, he's never seen it. He never seen the damn thing. He says, well, how does he pay? He's kind of crazy. He says, we got a list of directors that were unemployed. Yours headed the top. So he says, that guy. He says, what is good for, God, when he chose Adam, is good for Cohen when he's choosing to choose the top name. So I said, well, these people at least they follow hunches. At least this is going to be kind of exciting working with these people. So he ran me into Cohen's office to say that, pardon me, we talked salary, and I said, salary? What's that? Money? How much money you want? I said, I don't want any money. I just want I write my own pictures. I shoot my own pictures. I edit my own pictures. I do everything myself. And I make the whole thing. That's all I want. Now, and if you want, I'll pay you for it. So, what the hell kind of a guy are you? Where'd you come from? I said, that's it. That's it. Well, he says, how much you want for all this? I says, no, you said. He says, $1,000? A deal. He says, oh, you make this very, very, this is no fun arguing with you. You don't even. So I better take you into Cohen. Yeah. So we went into Cohen, knocked on his door. He was in there, and the minute he said, yes, yeah. Okay. Put him on. This from a distance of 50 feet. So I was put on.
Could you have done that at any other studio?
No. Of course not. No, you'd have to go through this man, this person, the person. They hand you up and down, and very seldom. I would never have gotten to meet the president because you'd be hired or unwanted before then. No, that was peculiarity there. Because it was they didn't have any money.
Have you ever thought how your career might have been different if you hadn't gone to Columbia? I mean, in any way, and not been associated with Harry Cohen?
Well, I might not be making pictures. I had my own idea about making pictures that I had got into my own mind. That if it's an art form, then one man must be the artist. If it's not an art form, well, then let's quit calling it an art form and call it something else. I thought if I'm going to do anything in this, I want to do the best I can, and I thought that one man should run the show, or else, because you couldn't have everybody in the world telling you what to do. There's one captain, one ship, one man, one film. That was then, when I was nobody, it started, not later. And I believed in it then. I believed I could make better films for them then. So when I went in, later on, when I talked to Cohen about this, he says, well, for crying, you mean, what do I do? I said, you have the greatest job of all. You have the most power of all. You can fire me whenever you don't want me. I don't want any contract. I don't want anything. Well, you've got to understand, Cohen, that he was a very illiterate but smart a Jewish boy. Many of them had come out from New York to make their livings, and they were tough customers. And he ran his shop on the proposition that if he could bully you, he didn't want you. He didn't want any soft marks around him. He didn't want any soft guys or any people that had a good mind with no fists. He wanted people who argued. He wanted people who stood up to him, who could take his bullying. If you could take his bullying, you were there, whether you were good or not. If you could not take his bullying, he'd throw you out, whether you were the top writer in the world. He wouldn't sleep well. So I very early found this out, and so I decided that he should never win an argument. Now, there's a funny thing could happen when you must never let your president of the company win an argument, because it's, over a course of 13 years, you should never win an argument. That's right. I knew that if he won an argument, my stock would go down with him. Now, many times we argued about something that I knew I was wrong, And he knew I was wrong. And he knew that I knew that I was wrong. What he wanted to see me is get out of it. And if I wangled myself until I said, you see, I'm right. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. And complete trust.
Did he have a sense of humour?
Yes. Yes, very good sense of humor. Kind of, low-key humor. I mean, not low. No, I mean, low-down humor. But he did, and he was a very interesting guy. He was an interesting guy. Dirty, mean. All the bastards that he's been called are all true, I'm telling you. But nevertheless, this man loved films. And he loved the people that made films. And he loved to have people around him that as I say, would argue with him. And try to knock him down. These are the kind of people he liked. So I don't know whether I could have done that at any other studio in the world.
Did he share your sort of theme, if you like, of the 30s, dealing with a sort of common man in the Depression, the way the sort of common people sort of banded together? And did he sort of go along with that sort of way your thinking went?
Yeah, he went along with it. He didn't know what the hell I was doing, but he went along with it, But I tell you, I give this man a great deal of credit. When I brought him a book that I just read on the train and handed him Lost Horizon, well, he never read it. Of course, he wouldn't know what the hell it was about. I read a few words and put it right down. The words were a little bit too much for him. But he went for it. He went for it. He had great confidence in me. He had great trust in me. Of course, he was making money from my films. But he had trusted me, and he trusted he never once said to me no on any picture that I really wanted to make. He'd say, we haven't got enough money to make it. I said, yeah. I said, well, but I want to make arguments, but never did he come out and say, refuse to make a picture because he thought it was not the right, would make a good film.
Was he there the night when you previewed it and you sort of said to yourself, oh my God, I've got to cut the two-reel cutting out the beginning bit?
Yes, he was there. Yes, he was there. He was there, he saw it, and he knew he knew exactly what happened, catastrophe. He knew that his job was gone, he knew that his Columbia was gone. Half of his budget for the year was in that picture. His budget for the year was $4 million. $2 million was in that picture. Out of the other $2 million, they were going to make 20 films. You see, so if that film didn't go over, failed, he was through. And he had many arguments with New York who didn't agree with him the way he made films. So his whole career was at stake there. Well, when we got into the car, it was raining. My wife and his wife, and I drove the car. We didn't say a word for quite a while. Just that thing kept going. Big flop, big flop, big flop, it said to me. We were very low. He was the first one to speak. And now here is where you test the man as exactly what his character is. Did he say, I told you so, or did he? No, he said, I'll still give you that 7-year contract. Now, I don't think he could have said anything better. More. I started to cry. So I determined that I was going to fix that picture with him somehow. And he knew I would. But that's the kind of a man he was. Now, as I say, he was a brute in many cases. He was very, very hard on people that he didn't particularly like, and he was a woman chaser, and he was all the things you can say about people. But all that I can say was that he put an implicit trust and faith in my ability and my opinions.
Can you remember where you were when they announced the day he died?
Yes, I was home, and I was home hiding out because of those stupid headaches that put 10 years out of my life, and I was very sorry. It moved me. I came to his funeral. I was there when somebody, the place was filled with people. His casket was on a stage, on an elevated stage, in one of our stages in Columbia, and all kinds of people came. The room was filled, and somebody said, "Well, when you give the people what they want, they come."
Somebody actually said that, did they?
Yes. Most irreverent thing I've ever heard in my life.
Do you wish, later looking back, I think Meet Mr. Smith Goes to Washington was your last picture at Columbia, was it not?
Yes,
no.
right, that's right.
Do you wish you'd stayed on afterwards, in view of what sort of...
No.
No,
I couldn't stay on. Something had crept into the association between us that was not very good, and that is that his studio was becoming to be known as a Frank Capra studio. Now, it wasn't. It was the Columbia studio. It was his studio. His first few dollars were his, and everything was his, and I knew that it was better that I should leave.
He did try to get you back, didn't he, on a couple of occasions? No, he didn't. I was wrong.
No, he had that same feeling that we had reached a point where he couldn't take it anymore, and that it's best that we separated.
During the 30s, I remember in your book a very interesting thing when you said that Barbara Stanwyck was so marvellous on the first take, if I remember rightly, and then afterwards it became more difficult for her if she didn't get it right. Weren't there many actresses like that?
No, and especially stage actresses, because they rehearse a great deal, and they rehearse a great deal, and they rehearse days, weeks before they actually perform before an audience. So rehearsal to them is nothing new, and it's something new, and they get something new out of every rehearsal. You know, so to find a girl, she was very young. She was 18, and a chorus girl, and she had been on one show, so she did not have a great deal of experience. But she did have this fire within her that was burning, and she was kind of silent and sullen all the time. But when she started, it opened up, and I found that she'd leave her very best take in the dressing room. So I said, how can I do this? I don't. This girl is definitely. It gets worse as second take is worse than the first and third and fourth, and finally she's flat. She's giving it out. She's giving it all out, And so I said, well, I don't know how we can do this. Well, I could do anything I wanted to. That was the nice thing about being at Columbia. So I asked for 2 more cameras, and I shot with 3 cameras on her. With 3 cameras makes everything quite different. The shadows of the microphones have to be all the moving mics have to be, And it's hard. But I went through it. So now what I was trying to do was get her in the close shots and the medium shots in the first shot, in the first take. Not take it in the long shot, because I should leave it, nothing, and then move back. Just reverse the normal, which was long shot, medium shot, close-ups. No, I'd shoot the close-ups first and pull back. And it made a lot of actors very, very, very angry because they couldn't rehearse with her. I'd rehearse with them all day long. I didn't even rehearse, but they couldn't rehearse with her. Nobody could rehearse with her. I kept her. I put her in an eggshell and closed the egg, and because I knew that the minute she got on the scene, there was no stopping, and there was no way to stop that gal, and she came right out with everything she had.
You got 3 Oscars, and you were the first director ever to do so. Did you ever think that you should have won an Oscar for one picture you didn't win for? Right.
Oh yes, that.
Go on, tell me which one.
Well, I think I should have won one for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I think I should have won one for Lost Horizon. I think I should have won one for It's a Wonderful Life.
I thought we might get onto that one. Yeah, because I think that's the best film. I've always thought that, and my daughter watches that whenever it comes on television. There's something about that picture.
Yes.
Now, there is the trouble, I think, isn't there, that it was almost, what should we say, made at the wrong time, possibly because it was not the success it should have been at the time. Do you agree on that?
It was not a success in the sense as we know success, that it went out. It was a time when they right after the war, when no picture did anything at all. It seemed like everybody stopped going to it was 1947, I think, was the lowest year as far as the box office was concerned. Where during the wartime, it was every theater was just full, and anything they played went, and the material that they saw just went down and down in quality. It didn't have to be quality. It's only whatever they played. Then suddenly that ended. Now that people stopped going to the theater unless they actually wanted to see something, quality came up again, and we got caught in that. But I doubt that. That picture would have been more successful in another era or something like that. It just didn't. The people, when they first got it, they didn't just get it.
You made State of the Union at MGM. Did you come into contact with the legendary Louis B. Mayer at that time?
Yes, I'd had before several times, and certainly not one of my favorite characters. No, I thought he was I thought he was one of those. He was always crying. He was always all that. I wouldn't trust him at all. Untrustable, as far as I was concerned. I didn't want to work him there. I couldn't possibly work at MGM anyhow. Under their system, I couldn't possibly.
That was absolutely against. You couldn't have functioned in that.
Oh no, not to see, because I'll give you an example.
You were saying, Mr. Capra, there was an incident when you were making State of the Union about Louis B. Mayer.
Yes, you see, State of the Union was made for the Liberty Films that we had put together with William Wyler and Steve Stevens, a director's company. And in order to get the principal actor, Tracy, there to get Tracy. And Tracy wanted to do it very badly. Yes, he did. He made such a great fuss about it that they said, "All right, we'll let you make the picture, providing you make it here at MGM, and the picture is released over the MGM circuit, so that we don't lose Tracy out of that circuit." You understand? Well, fine with me. So this is the first picture made at MGM. And the second day of shooting, I had about 5 people together, and I wanted them to make a scene with them together. And the cameraman comes up to me and says, "I can't shoot that." And I said, "You can't shoot away." He says, "Well, I can't follow focus. You got to put them more on the line. I can't carry that focus between them." "Oh, come on." I said, "You know how to fix that? Just, well, I know. But I said, well, just put more light and stop down. They'll carry the focus. It's simple. Now, what are you? Well, I can't do that." I thought this was most regular. I said, "What do you mean you can't do it?" "Well," he said, "I can't do it." "So you mean you won't do it?" He says, "I won't do it." I said, "Well, get the hell out of here as fast as you can. Right out of that door." So, fired him. Then I, looking around from, I got the telephone busy, people around. I asked the union of what photographers were free and so forth. They'd get one of the best ones. And a man comes down to me on the set, and he's got a flowing black tie, and he's got long hair, and he looked like an artist, like something from Left Bank or something. And he says, "Frank, what's the trouble?" I said, "No trouble. What?" And he said, "Well, I mean about this cameraman business." He says, I am the man ahead of the laboratory." And he said it as if he was the president of the United States. And I was supposed to bow. And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he says, "This, you see, I tell the cameraman what to do. And you see, I have developed a soup." You know what a soup is? A soup is a developer. And developing machines and big things. All the film goes through at one soup, which is 2:4. Now, all the cameraman must shoot at 2:4 in order that my soup would work. And I said, "Holy jumping!" I says, "These cameramen here are working for his soup. They're more interested in that than they are in the film." And then I realized this is MGM. That's what is meant by MGM. Nobody's free. He had to. Now, this wasn't the top guy. This was the man. Now, the department heads did the same thing. The head sound man told the sound men how to record it. All the department heads told their people. The director didn't do a thing. So I said, "This is really funny. You mean all your cameramen shoot at one opening, 2.4, that's the lowest opening, or wide open, that means?" He says, "Yes. You see that now I can use the same soup for all of them." Well, I said, "You can do with your soup and with everything." This is the funniest thing I've ever heard. I said, "No wonder you bastards don't know how to make films." So I said, "Well, that's it, brother." I said, "I'll send my film outside to be developed." "Oh, no, don't do things like that. We don't like that to have to. Not like that reputation there. You get a reputation. You have to go to a laboratory. We're supposed to have the best laboratory in the world." I said, "Not at 2-4 soup. You're not." Yeah. So he said, "Frank, you know how I can." Cameramen like to experiment. They'll try one thing and the other, and they screw up my whole thing down that laboratory. I like to keep the laboratory going. Like a mission. See, and I said, "I understand. I don't have to talk anymore. Yeah, I understand what you mean." And he says, "But for you, I'll make whatever soup it needs." I said, "Oh, well, I know that." He's have you got another? You got any, would you like? And he mentioned the name of the cameraman. It escapes me in the moment. And I said, I certainly would. He's a great cameraman. He said, you can have him. I said, but he's my man. I tell him what to do, not you. Is that right? Do I understand? For you, right? For you, I'll make this one. So this was MGM, and this was the first time I ever really realized what went on at MGM. They made pictures by committee. The committee being the department heads plus the studio heads at the top. Well, it's like no wonder they were more or less alike, and they were pretty and they were anything, but they were almost more or less alike. And
you came to sort of direct Hepburn and Tracy, and I suppose what must have been about their fifth picture together, because Stevens had directed them in Woman of the Year,
yes,
and Cukor had directed them in Keeper of the Flame, I think, as well as other ones. Did they have this magical chemistry together?
They sure had.
Yeah.
They sure had. They did. They did. They really did. And it is a joy to watch them work. You just sat down and just enjoyed it with the rest of the people. It didn't have much to do with them. There's not much you could tell them that it was any better than they were doing.
So they didn't really need direction, almost, as far as acting was concerned.
Yes, that's right. They certainly didn't. All they needed was to be told what the scene was about, and we shoot at such. We shoot the scenes at disparate times. They're not in succession, and that's one of the most difficult parts about directing, is that you have to shoot from from scene 50, you go to scene 90, you come back to scene 1, and it sounds just crazy, and it is, and that it finally should. The film should look like as if it was shot in exactly the same number of minutes it takes to see. And that's more difficult to do. But in their case, once you told them what the scene was about, as far as playing the scene is concerned, you just didn't have anything to do about it. You just sat there and admired.
Wasn't the financial success, was it? Was that because it was a political theme to the movies? Because political movies never seem to make money, do they? Unless it's All the President's Men.
Oh, I don't know that it wasn't a success. I don't think it was a great success, but I don't think it lost any money, because it was. I went to preview, but the audiences really loved the film.
Did you get sort of slightly disenchanted with the movie scene in the early 50s? I mean, you made a couple at Paramount, and then you sort of had a long gap before you made Hole in the Head, 1959, didn't you? And did you sort of feel the scene was falling apart a bit, the studio sort of system, etc.?
Well, I really retired in 51 after making what was it?
Here Comes the Groom, was it?
Here Comes the Groom, yes. I retired. For the first term in my life, I had to work for a studio. And I did not like the idea at all. When we sold Liberty Films to Paramount, we also sold our contracts to Paramount. Now I was under a contract Paramount director, and I was told what to do. It turned down everything I said I wanted to make and everything else, and it was and I wanted no part of that at all. So that kind of soured me down the whole thing. So I said, maybe I should just lay off for a while. So I went down to my ranch and said I was going to quit for a while. But it didn't last long because ATT, the American telegraph business, telephone and telegraph, wanted to see me, and they wanted some ideas as to how to make something for television. And I got involved in that, and just purely an advisory thing, and finally from an advisory thing, I had to go in, and I spent the next 5 years making 4 science films for them, for television, which were very successful and very great fun in making them. And I was back to my old field of science, which I liked very much, and I had a great time for 4 years with just 3 people, myself and 2 others, making these educational films for 5 years. And there were 5 of the best years of my life, really, because it was new. It was something new, something wonderful about science. So after that, I don't know what happened after that. I think my wife and I just started taking trips around the world.
Can I just switch you back a moment to the 40s? You were mentioning about people liking Harry Cohn. Now, I know George Stevens worked there. I'm asking this purely personally, I think, for The More the Merrier and The Talk of the Town. You later became very good friends with Wyler when you formed Liberty Films, as you said. How did he get on with Harry Cohn? Because I had heard stories that Harry Cohn either didn't like smoking on the set, and George Stevens deliberately went against this, or vice versa. Can you remember at all how Stevens reacted?
I wasn't there when I was away from the lot when he. But you see, the fact that he gave me he gave the director all the opportunity to make the film himself. That attracted other directors. The first one was
Hawks?
Hawks came later. But Hawks and George and a couple of others that came over there. McCary and. They made some wonderful films over there. They were allowed for the first time to make the film as they wanted to make it. It was a wonderful place to work. So all these big directors went down to there's an interesting piece of information. Among the best pictures of the year that the Academy gives out, there's a tie at the moment. 11 for MGM, 11 for Columbia. Now Columbia started much later in this big long race for the top, but yet have caught up and now are equal. They are the tops, which I think is a great tribute to this little place, Columbia, that allowed directors to make their films as they wanted to make them. And that system is diametrically opposed to the system at MGM. And MGM had everything the best. If there was everything they paid the most money for, there wasn't anybody with any talent at all that they didn't hire and put under contract. They really dominated the whole scene. Well, dominated or not, the little joint on Gower Street tied them in best years in the best picture race, and you can't say it's because they had more members, because there probably weren't even 2 members at Columbia that belonged to the Academy. They were certainly outvoted by membership, but that to me it seems to prove something. It seems to prove that we weren't so far off the truth when we were making figures at Columbia. If we could tie the great giant that had all the tools that they could buy.
I know you didn't direct her in the movie, but you were there when Rita Hayworth sort of started, weren't you, at Columbia? Yes. And did you sort of have any inkling of her potential when you were there? Or?
Yes. I could see that she's going to be, and she really had. And now he could afford. His company had become a major studio before I left, and people liked the work there, and directors liked to work there, and they attracted stars, and And you could see that they were on their way, and they were. They made fine shows after that.
I remember I think it's from your book that Cohen very much respected writers a lot. And I do remember, I think, that he stood by Sidney Buckman a lot when he got into trouble in the early 50s with the sort of political troubles, didn't he? Cohen was very good like that. I mean, he sort of said, well, I don't care what his political views, I'm employing him, and that's it. That's right, isn't it?
Right.
I'm correct in that.
Right. Cohen had no political views. He didn't respect any political views. He had his own views, and that was it.
Looking back on the 30s, do you have a favourite movie you made at Columbia? Would it be It Happened One Night because it was the first you made that won you the Oscar?
Well, I really don't understand.
No, of the pictures you made at Columbia,
yes.
Do you have a favourite, really? And was that favourite It Happened One Night because you won the Academy Award for it?
Oh, it was a favorite because it was made under such conditions that I never thought that be any good myself. But we just raced through that film, just laughed our way through it in 24 days. We had to make it. We had to make it because the czar of MGM was angry with one of his actors and wanted to send him to Siberia. And so we had already called off the film because nobody seemed to like it. We couldn't cast it. We couldn't cast anybody. So we said, "How the hell? Let's quit it." When we got word from Mr. Mayor, I've just got the man for you, and we said, "No, what?" I said, "No, we don't want to make it anymore." He says, "Oh yes, you've got to make it now." It's Herschel. This is Louis talking. You've got to make it now. He says, "What whole point?" He says, "I want to punish an actor." So you can see the kind of man that wants to punish an actor by sending him to Siberia and telling you about it, that you were Siberia. Well, it certainly didn't turn out to be Siberia. It turned out to be the best film that Mr. Gable was ever in, and when he went back, they tripled his salary.
That little bit with Claudette Colbert and the skirt, did you improvise that, or was that in the script?
Well, that was part of a routine. It was not just by a skirt by itself. Part of the whole what do you call it? Hitchhiking.
That's right.
Hitchhiking routine. That just came as a natural.
You had this terrible embarrassment, I remember, when the year before you won the Oscar for It Happened One Night. Did you actually walk up there when they...
I certainly did.
That is absolutely true.
I certainly did.
Can you tell us what happened there?
I certainly did. And it was the Apollonie story, the Lady for a Day. And from the reviews, you got 4 stars in New York. Oh, the reviews rave. And the money, it made an awful lot of money. And I couldn't see anything else. I mean, I had worked very hard to try to get an Oscar before that. I had not succeeded. And I thought, well, this is the one. This is the one because So I moved in from Hollywood. Moved in from Malibu. We rented a house. I got a tuxedo. I made myself visual at the various bistros, and everybody could see me. I said, hello there, hello there. That's how I made myself. And I rehearsed all my scenes. I'd write speeches, throw away and write another speeches, and rehearse it for a mirror, try to make my voice break at the right moment and all that kind of thing. I was absolutely sure that we were going to win at least 4 Oscars for that film. Absolutely sure. We didn't win a single goddamn one of them. Not at all. And the thing was that when it came up to the director, I was so sure that I was going to win that we were way back in the back. We weren't among the front. we didn't belong there on the front row. But when this man opened his talk, he said, well, my old friend, and so forth. And when I had been an old friend, and I don't know, we had that with him, and he says, Frank, come up and get it. Well, that's all I needed. My table is just howled, and I walked through people, excuse me. I got down to the dance floor, and there, I was looking for the spotlight, and the spotlight was going around like this, and I kept saying, oh, here I am. Suddenly the spotlight lands on somebody across the way, and it's Frank Lloyd. And the spotlight stops on him, and goes up with him to the thing, and I remain at the edge of the dance floor in the dark, and stunned, frozen, until some people behind me start yelling, down in front. And I had a long walk back to my table where everybody was crying. Oh, that's the end of that
humiliating experience.
And I said, oh, damn, if they ever offer me another Oscar again, I'll never take it. I'll throw it right back in their face. I'll do all kind of, But I didn't. I took it. Offered it.
Didn't have long to wait.
Next picture it was.
Yes, that's right. Why did you choose Lady for a Day to remake? I mean, as Pocketful of Miracles. I've often wondered why directors have been attracted to remake their own work.
When we sold Liberty Films to Paramount, I, as president of Liberty Films, was very disliked by all the studios. They didn't like any independent producers. They didn't like the idea of independent producers. They didn't like the idea of one film idea. They didn't. So I was always treated like a pariah. And my first news when I got to Paramount was that I could make no picture that would cost more than $1.5 million. Well, that was that. I couldn't find, and they turned down 15 pictures that I offered them. And finally, I tried to think of something that was, and I finally said, well, maybe I could make a remake. I mean, at least I wouldn't have to pay for the story. I wouldn't have to do this, and some of it would be made already. And so we made a deal with Cohen, and I got it. I made a remake of Lady for a Day for under $1.5 million, because I had 3 pictures to make, or I couldn't get out of the contract. And that was one of the reasons for making Lady for a Day.
Had you ever I think, remembering from your book, you'd still wanted to carry on after Pocketful of Miracles, hadn't you?
Yes, that's right in the middle of that thing, I got these awful headaches. It came at night, 3 and 4 at night, just excruciatingly painful, and I didn't know what they were. And the doctor was with me night, and tried to give me some sleeping pills, sleeping thing. I took morphine, I took all kinds of things. Nothing would touch these headaches. So I finished the film, but I finished the film in terrible days. And my brother, my son, and my assistant director, the only 2 that knew what it was, and they kind of steered me along as to what was going on. It was really made I want to look at it and find out that it does make sense all the way through. I wonder how we ever got it. And those headaches lasted 10 years. I went to more doctors, and I didn't count. And they all said, they call them cluster headaches because they come in bunches like bananas. And occasionally they have they have 2 or 3 weeks when you get nothing. You have nothing, and then they come back again and become active. And they were simply miserable, and so I was just in hiding all that time. They all kept saying, they will stop. They will stop. You might be interested in this, because in the last 2 or 3 years of my headaches, I thought, well, I am just dying of inactivity. So I wrote a biography, which people seem to like very much, we were taking a vacation with my wife. We're down to Aruba, and on the way up, right near Costa Rica, outside with the boat, I was on the floor. Now the doctor gave me one thing: when they come, get on the back on the floor and roll from side to side. Roll your legs from side to side, your body from side to side, with the hottest towel you possibly can on the right side of your face, which was the pain side, and roll and swear. Loud as you can. Now they have a time limit, 40 minutes, absolutely to the time. It hit like this and go away like that. And when they're going away was a time of euphoria. The very fact they stopped, that's pain, an awful pain stopped. And so, anyhow, this morning, about 9 o'clock in the morning, one hit me, and I got down. And after 10 years that we knew what to do, I got down on the floor, waited for her to. My poor wife really, she must have heated up thousands and thousands of towels. And I grabbed a towel and I started rolling and swearing. And knock comes the door. Telegram. Wife goes to the door, opens the telegram, and says, "Whoopee!" So I leap up and say, "What are you whooping about?" I read the telegram, and it says, "Congratulations, your book has been chosen as Book of the Month for August. Congratulations, Macmillan." Wow. We just started jumping up and down like kids, and I said, "Let's go get drunk." So we went to the bar that early, opened the bar, and we got so pifflicated that, and I made myself a terrible nuisance every day throughout the ship, because anybody I'd meet, I'd say, "Look, read this, look at that. I'd read the telegram." That was the last headache.
Strange.
Thanks.
Do you look back now with one final question? Do you look back with affection at the Hollywood you knew, or would you have liked to have started off like some of the directors you saw at the Guild on Saturday, starting off today, or are you pleased that you started when you did?
I'm very pleased I started where I did. I started all on my own. I was my own teacher, my own student. I was never in the show business of any kind. I graduated Caltech as a scientist. I couldn't get a job, and that's how I backed into motion pictures. And no, I wouldn't trade those days for anything. It's just, especially would I trade the days in which I was my own complete boss and what I did. And I don't think anybody, but perhaps Coppola, has that right just at the moment, and he's got that right because he's made 2 very great pictures and made a lot of money. How do you regard the present American directors, the quality of them? I regard Coppola personally as the best American director of the last 10, 20 years, but I can't say the same as some of the rest. Well, I'm not so sure I agree with you. They have to work under conditions today that I could never possibly work. The conditions in which people now, they aren't studios that make pictures. There are no heads of studios that make pictures. Pictures are made by a group of individuals who get together, put in a certain amount of money each, and say get a pool of $10 million, and then hire a director, writer, and to make a picture. Now you're subject to all these people who put in 5 cents in that thing. They all feel they know more about art making pictures than you do, and I certainly would be unhappy with that, and couldn't possibly make it. And I think that most of that, you have to fight your way very, very hard to get your own way at the moment. When I was making pictures, you fought your way hard with one man, yes, but you didn't fight your way with a whole dynasty of millionaires that want their girlfriends in the pictures, that do this, and they come down to it's strange. Everything is money today. Everything is money. Nothing is based on integrity, or on artistry, or on, let's say, the quality. Money. They give you a lot of money. They take you a lot of money. They want a lot of money. It's money. And I think it's perfectly ruinous for the kind of business we're in. And I'm amazed they make the pictures they do under those circumstances.
Can I just ask you about two of my favourite people, Mr. Capra, that you work with, Ronald Colman and Jean Arthur? How are they to work with? And were they easy to work with?
Oh yes. I this whole day idea, easy or not easy, it's just talk. No two are the same, and no two works are expected to be the same. They all have their own qualities and their own something to give, and their own art and their own everything else, and you allow them to develop and show that what they got. That's what I did, and you treated them differently because they were. You'd find out how you got the best. Jean Arthur, you couldn't get on the set. You had to push her on the set. But once you push her on her set, once she got the lights on there, she just turned from a worm into a butterfly, and when she was off the set, she was just absolutely whiny. She couldn't know her part. She didn't like this, and like that. And Ronald Colman was always reserved, always back. Liked very few people in the sense that he liked them. He was kind, and he was polite to very few people. But we got to know each other very well, and I liked him as a human being and as an actor, and I found him to be a very fine actor. If you could find out how to let him go and do it.